Hey friends, Steve here with ThunderStash Gaming, and I'm beyond excited to dive into Hogwarts Legacy on the Nintendo Switch 2.
Step right up.
Now, this is a game I've been anticipating for a while, especially with my past experience on PlayStation 5, where I spent hours immersed in the magical world.
He's gonna play it?
This time, we're looking at it on the Switch 2, which really has me curious. Makayla's played Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 1 for hundreds of hours. It was a game I bought for her right when it came out, because she is a big Harry Potter fan, by the way. And she's beaten the game, which made her the perfect person to dive into this version for a direct comparison. Having seen and played both versions, I'm thrilled to finally check out how the game runs on the Switch 2, and trust me, the difference between the Switch 1 and Switch 2 versions is absolutely night and day. When I first predicted this game would eventually land
Alright guys, so
on
Makayla is going to play Hogwarts Legacy.
I knew it would bring
now, Makayla,
something
you have this
special,
game, of course, on
and that's exactly
Switch.
what we're
So
seeing
now you're going to
here
be playing
today.
the Switch
So let's
2
dive
edition.
into what we're both seeing and feeling about this version. The game's open world is vast, and players can interact with characters, creatures, and magical objects while advancing the main storyline or simply going off the beaten path. The quest system allows a lot of flexibility, letting you engage with side quests and special tasks that make your journey feel more personal. And it's worth mentioning that this game is a full-on action RPG with deep mechanics and a lot of choices that impact your character and the world around you. Whether you're a die-hard Harry Potter fan or just someone who loves a good open-world RPG, Hogwarts Legacy delivers a truly magical experience. Now, I want to mention something right off the bat. The fact that Hogwarts Legacy could even run on Switch 1 as well as it did is a technical achievement, and I tip my cap to Portkey. It's really impressive how the game made it work with the limitations of the hardware. But there are still some clear performance issues, right? That's why the jump to Switch 2 feels so significant. This version is truly a massive leap forward in terms of performance. On Switch 1, the game had to rely on what we call open zones instead of a fully realized open world, because the Switch 1 hardware just couldn't handle the massive world that was part of the PS5 version. As a result, there were a lot of limitations. Long loading screens, stuttery frames, and everything just didn't quite feel as fluid as it should, although it was still a fun game. Like, Makayla played the whole thing and beat it. So that's saying a lot about the quality of the game. Anytime you play a game and there's a lot of technical issues, but you still enjoy it, I think this says a lot about how fun it is, right? The actual gameplay, the game design. So the big question for me was whether the Switch 2 would be able to deliver that next-gen experience that I had on PS5. I'm happy to say that it does. The world is now fully open with seamless transitions.
How's it feel? Yeah.
I can't remember any of the buttons.
Yeah. How's the frame rate? Feels better?
Between areas, very minimal loading screens. The whole experience just feels way more immersive. You can truly get lost in the world of Hogwarts Legacy, and it does feel much closer to what the PS5 version offers, but on the go. And let's talk about the controls for a moment here. The Switch 1 version was somewhat sluggish because the frame rate drops made the controls feel a bit delayed and unresponsive. The broomstick traveling, for example, was a pain to control at times. I mean, I will say that Makayla often would ask me if I could beat this part for her. And, you know, like, I take, I guess you could say, pride in being able to beat hard areas of video games for Makayla, for anybody really. But whenever she asked me to beat a hard part of the game, I want to be able to help her, and I always did. But I'll tell you what, it was a pain. It was a pain in the ass. It was not fun doing the broomstick traveling, where you have to travel through the rings. It's almost like Pilot Wings, but broomstick traveling, and it's just so clunky. Very, very clunky. So Makayla did try out the broomstick travel, and it's not like that anymore. It's fixed. Flying through the air is easy now. And the responsiveness of all the controls have drastically improved because of the improved frame rate. And again, I remember asking Makayla about this, and she confirmed that it's night and day different. She's actually excited to jump back into the game on Switch 2 now, and she's even considering replaying it in its entirety. And I get she put a lot of hours in this, so that's pretty cool. Visually, Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 2 is an absolute treat. The Switch 1 version already looked pretty decent, right? Again, I thought it was a technical achievement. But there's no denying that the visuals were compromised due to the hardware limitations. The Switch 2, on the other hand, can truly deliver a next-gen experience, and it's clear that the devs took full advantage of the new power. Everything looks better. Lighting, shadows, character models huge improvement, and the overall resolution. The frame rate is incredibly stable now. Where the Switch 1 version struggled, the Switch 2 version shines with smoother, more fluid gameplay. And the best part is the world now feels as vast as it should. The Forbidden Forest looks more alive. Hogwarts Castle is even more detailed, and the landscapes are simply breathtaking. I'd say that the game is running at a solid 30 frames, though it could be even closer to 40. And this makes a massive difference, obviously, in how the game feels, and it truly captures that next-gen quality that we've come to expect from the PS5 version. As for the sound, Hogwarts Legacy nails it across the board, and the audio on Switch 2 is just as excellent as the PS5 version. The soundtrack is orchestral and sweeping, really capturing the magic and mystery of the wizarding world. The music swells during dramatic moments, adding to the emotional weight of the story, while more subtle tracks play in the background during your quieter moments, exploring the halls of Hogwarts or flying around on your broomstick. And for anyone who's enjoyed the Harry Potter movies, the soundtrack has always been a key component. Even in the first movie, we had the legend, the GOAT, John Williams, who did the soundtrack of the first movie. And I think since that first movie, the soundtrack's just kind of carried on in just a very magical way. I felt like he set the tone, even though he didn't do the other movies because of Star Wars. He just really set the tone, and that's one thing I really enjoy about the Harry Potter movies. The music's just so good, and you hear it all throughout the game, so what's not to love about that? The sound effects are incredible as well. Every spell you cast has its own satisfying, distinct sound. Just like if you fire a gun in Call of Duty, each gun's going to sound different, right? And that's how it is here with the spells. They all do sound different. Flying around on the broomstick feels obviously much more immersive, with the wind rushing past and the magical hum accompanying your every move. The voice acting is solid too in the game, with characters really coming to life, from your fellow students to professors and magical creatures you encounter. It's also worth mentioning that there are environmental sounds like the rustling leaves in the Forbidden Forest or the crackling fire in the Gryffindor common room that really draw you deeper into the world. Overall, the sound and music are perfectly tuned to the magical atmosphere the game aims to create. The story of Hogwarts Legacy is set in the 1800s, long before Harry Potter's time, and follows your character who discovers that they can wield ancient magic. As I mentioned earlier, the biggest highlight for me is how Hogwarts Legacy feels on Switch 2. It's like playing a new game, even if you've already experienced it on Switch 1, and that's exactly how I felt about the PS5 version. The performance, the world building, the controls, it's all been taken to the next level, and it feels like the Switch 2 is finally able to give players the true experience the game deserves. As for concerns, there are a couple of minor things that could be tweaked, like the UI elements or small bugs that may pop up, but nothing takes away from the overall experience. The main issues from Switch 1 version, like the frame rate dips and the laggy controls because of the frame rate, they're all resolved here in the demo. The game feels like it's running the way it was meant to, and I gotta imagine that the performance will only get tighter as we get closer to the game's release. So to wrap things up, if you've played Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 1 and liked it, you're in for a treat with the Switch 2 version. It's like playing an entirely new game with so many improvements across the board. If you held off on picking up the game because of performance issues on the older Switch 1 hardware, now is the time to pick it up. The issues are fixed, and you'll get to experience the game in its full magical glory.
Load times,
Makayla and I will definitely
faster.
be picking up a copy for our Switch 2s. Despite already owning it on PS5, we're excited to play it again on the Switch 2 on the go, and I know she's looking forward to jumping in again. So if you're on the fence, I highly recommend giving it a shot. And don't forget, this is not the final build. There's still room for improvements, and based on the past, I know Hogwarts Legacy received a handful of updates on the PS5. So stay tuned. There will be a full review once the game is out. I'd love to hear what you think if you've played Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 1, or if you're excited about the Switch 2 version. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about the improvements? Also, don't miss out on my other hands-on impressions from the Nintendo Switch 2 experience. I've covered everything from winning the Mario Kart Knockout Tournament, Metroid Prime 4, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, to Hades 2, Cyberpunk 2077, and more. Check them out on the channel, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on all my latest content. And as always, remember, you're never too old to play video games.